Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
most dangerous towns in America. Emeryville, California. Heard this place before?
Number 10, Emeryville, California. Emeryville sounds like a cozy spot nestled between San Francisco and Oakland, but this place ranks high on both violent and property crime. But we're only talking about violent crime on this one. You might enjoy the proximity of the big cities, but you won't enjoy the risk of being mugged while grabbing coffee. Pass through this place with your windows up at least. Interesting story about this one. I was taking the Amtrak down to Los Angeles from Portland one time, and you get to Emeryville really early, and you're passing through, picking up new people, or whatever. I happen to wake up, I look out the window. There's a motorcycle on its side, nobody around, the wheel is still spinning, and there's burning trash on the sidewalk about 5 feet away. All before like 7 a.m. So how'd they get here? The financial well-being of the city's residents plays a massive role in crime stats, because apparently, when people can't afford to buy something they need, they don't just smile and say, oh well, I guess I'll just sit here and starve. Nope, they do something about it. Let's say they turn to alternative ways of meeting their basic needs. Shocking, right? And it's not just stealing stuff, it usually leads to a higher...
Pixar is there too?
I don't know, maybe. I was going to say, you do what you got to do.
Violent crime rate. Now, what's weird about this one is they do have a pretty high poverty rate of 11.9%, but it's still well below the national average, which is 15.1%. Why is this? The homeless camps. They're really not considered residents.
15%. So that's not like that high if it's below national average. I would think it would be higher than that. That doesn't sound high at all.
But it's not counting the homeless people, so they feel like the number should be higher.
Oh.
They're committing almost half of the crime. By the way, the national average for poverty right now is 15.1%. The violent crime rate in Emeryville, California is 17.4 violent crimes for every 1,000 residents.
Meet the shark.
And what is the average for this country?
Of any wet and dry robot.
That number doesn't really, that's it? 17.9. I wonder what's the national for the country.
Number 9, Globe, Arizona. Globe might have been a mining town, but now it's mainly a hotbed for violent crime. Come with the scenery and history, and stay because someone pulled a piece on you and took your motorhome. Now it's a lab in the middle of the desert, but its violent crime rate punches way above its weight class. One of the reasons for this, its historical ties to mining, which attracted a rough and tumble crowd back in the day. Even though those miners are long gone, the legacy of boomtown lawlessness seemed to have stuck around. Combine that with the struggling economy and limited job opportunities, and you've got a recipe for a town where frustration can easily boil over into bad decisions, like punching a guy at a bar instead of just sending him a passive-aggressive text. Another factor is the isolation. This place is out in the middle of nowhere. Globe is an island in the middle of the desert, miles from any big city, and when people feel cut off from the world, sometimes they get a little crazy. Instead of knitting or reading a book.
That's so strange, because I would think like in such a small, well, okay, I don't know if it's small. Let me look up the population, but I would think that in a place like he said, remote, you kind of isolate. I assume everybody knows everybody. I would think the crime would, you wouldn't like really commit the crime like that. That is
shocking for sure.
That is, yeah. Population is 7,000 people. So like legit, everybody. That's less than my hometown in Lithuania that I grew up in. So I would think that everybody knows everybody. Why would you commit the crime against people? That's so strange. I was not expecting to see this. Like, I was kind of, honestly, so far with the two, both of them, I was kind of expecting, like the Chicago's, Detroit's, like the the cities that are known for violence. I don't really.
Yeah, I don't know this town.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Well, sometimes they.
Oh, this is towns, not cities. I think we're not gonna get the big cities. I think these are like the small towns. Oh, okay.
Start a fight club in the back of a local Circle K. Violent crime rate in Globe, Arizona is 18.3 for every 1,000 residents.
Greenwood, Mississippi.
Number 8, Greenwood, Mississippi. If you enjoy good mystery, Greenwood's crime rate will give you plenty of a whodunit vibe. Who stole your car? Who mugged you? Who thought this...
What? Who done it?
Town was a good place to stop for lunch. Greenwood, Mississippi, bless its heart, seems to have inherited more than just its southern charm. Its violent crime rate is unfortunately through the roof. Why do you ask? Well, it's a mix of high poverty levels and limited job opportunities. Makes the perfect storm, especially when you include hot and muggy summers. The town struggles push people into desperate situations.
Yeah.
When everyone's feeling the pressure, tempers flare. The lack of opportunity is kind of like a bad southern summer. It's everywhere, it's suffocating, and it leaves you feeling hot and bothered in all the wrong ways.
Wow.
I feel like the cause of this violence is lack of opportunity. Seems like these all of these like are old towns with no really kind of future there. You know?
Then there's the community resources, or should I say lack thereof. Think of Greenwood as a potluck lunch at work, and only half the guests showed up with something to eat. When it comes to mental health services, educational programs, and even decent law enforcement funding, the area is running empty. Now, I'm not saying the police or the healthcare professionals in the area are doing anything wrong. They're probably doing all they can, but they don't have enough money. All these things combined kind of pushes people to violence. Violent crime rate in Greenwood, Mississippi is 20.7 per every 1,000 residents.
Okay. Marksville, Louisiana.
Number 7, Marksville, Louisiana. Marksville might lure you in with the promise of prehistoric parks.
I wish he added population of the town in this video, because I don't want to Google every single town, but it is interesting to see how big they are.
Nearby wildlife areas, but trust me, the wildlife on the streets in this town are as dangerous as the gators that you'll find in the bayous. It's a great spot if you want to admire ancient history while avoiding becoming part of it. How'd they get here? The town's high violent crime rate is often blamed on several factors, like poverty and low-paying jobs or no jobs at all. When there aren't many jobs around, boredom sets in, and when boredom strikes, sometimes people start thinking that a fight sounds like a fun way to pass time. It's like a real-life version of the Hunger Games. Instead of survival skills and archery, it's just a lot of bad decisions. Then there's the small...
I don't think it's boredom. I think it's, there's no jobs. People got no money to, eat. They just gonna go and take it. Like, you need to eat, So I think that's what it is. I don't think it's the boredom.
Town gossip mill. Everyone knows everyone. And let's face it, sometimes that leads to a little too much he said, she said, turning harmless disputes into full-blown brawls. Throw in some general lawlessness that seems to come with rural Louisiana, and you've got a recipe for a higher-than-average crime rate. Marksville violent crime rate is 22.2 per every 1,000 residents. Number 6.
Misspelled Arkansas, Arkansas.
Helena, West Helena, Arkansas. Now, I'm sure some of you thought I just stuttered.
What kind of name is Helena, West Helena? What kind of name is that?
Said something, but it is Helena, West Helena, Arkansas. They have a West Helena right up the road. They're almost connected. But there is a place on the river called Helena, West Helena. And this is one of those places in Arkansas where your hopes and dreams go to die.
Honestly, just change the name to HWH.
Helena, West Helena might be small, but it's big on danger. With crime rates that could turn a peaceful stroll into a sprint for survival, this town offers more adrenaline than the average roller coaster.
That's so sad, because you think, like, if you're trying to move out of the big city, you probably want to look and consider going to a small town. So you see, maybe the small town may seem like affordable to you based on your living standards from where you're coming from. And then you get there and you realize, wow, the crime.
You got to look up crime rate before you get there, right? Because crime rate is available.
Skip the sightseeing here, you're not going to miss much. So how'd they get here? Helena, West Helena
But do you
exactly
think the crime can feel different? Like, okay, in a major city, there's crime. But in a small town, when there's crime, that just feels different. Because the population size, okay, crime happens in the big city. But if you have crime and there's 200 people, that's different.
Like in a small
that's
city,
different.
In a small city, yeah, if the crime happens, you probably know the person who committed, or
that's
the person,
your neighbor who did it.
or the person who was committed against. So it's
and what you gonna do when it's your neighbor who did it?
It's a little different, yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I do wish he provided a little more stats, broke down of the what type of crime, because now violent crime. What is it murders, beating someone up? Because there's one thing, murders.
And there's different kind of crimes, yeah.
Yeah, and it's someone when they get a bar fight. Because both are considered violent crimes, but so, it's different. I kind of wish he provided a little more details.
Poster child for peaceful living. In fact, it has a reputation for a rather impressive violent crime rate. The city's economic struggles are a big part of it.
And I feel like he obviously has the list, the top 10, but I feel like he kind of just running around circles saying the same thing about every town, though.
Yeah.
Like, how we do the infographics video when we did U.S. Army versus American Army, that one, they just tried a lot of stats on each side. I wish he'd done it more like that, where instead of talking the same thing about every town, not a lot of opportunity every single town. I get it. I kind of wish he just provided the stats more instead of dragging it out, saying the same thing for every town, because he's never been there. He's not really providing any personal input. He just kind of regurgitated about it, the same thing with every town.
The one thing is interesting is what he says was the history of the town before its state of what it is that day. Because to learn, some of the towns are a mining.
But he only said that about the Arizona town. The other, he didn't say it for others.
Okay, let's see.
Problem. With high unemployment rates and limited job opportunities, people tend to get a little creative in ways they probably shouldn't. The town also suffers from a serious lack of funding in just about every category. According to the website policescorecard.org, the Helena West Helena Police Department gets a 44. It's kind of hard to maintain the police when you've got more criminals than cops per capita. The Helena West Helena violent crime rate is 23.2 for every 1,000 residents.
Salem, New Jersey.
Number 5, Salem, New Jersey. This Salem may not have witches, but it's got plenty to be afraid of. With a violent crime rate that is far too high for such a small population, the only spells being cast here are ones of bad decisions and close calls. So how did they get here? It seems like the town has developed an unfortunate knack for keeping the local police department on its toes. One reason for its high violent crime rate is that Salem has struggled economically for years, and when jobs and opportunities vanish, sometimes people feel like the only way to hit jackpot is through less than legal means. Think of it as the worst lottery ever, where instead of winning a pile of cash, you end up with a court date. Economic hardships combined with a lack of social services means that tensions rise and things get heated always at the wrong time. I'm not sure why most people would want to live here. I mean, right down the road, they got a nuclear power plant. Another culprit is the limited access to education and community resources. When people don't have after-school programs or activities...
It's kind of like restructuring how you said that.
Yeah, he's saying the same thing. He's just...
Which goes to show you, okay, you know what's the issue.
Yeah, the issue...
Scenarios.
Right, the issue is clear why places are like this. It's just... I feel like he's...
That's sad.
He's dragging this video out. This could have been like an 8-minute video.
Busy, the entertainment options sometimes take a turn to the criminal. Salem's small size often means that conflicts are more personal. If you run into the same people at the grocery store and like the corner bar every single day, grudges can fester like a bad casserole. Mix that with the limited policing resources,
it's gonna make me bad too.
The perfect storm for a lot of
not gonna be bad.
The crime rate in Salem, New Jersey is 24.4 per every 1,000 residents.
But I don't know any of these towns yet. No, I don't know any of these.
Number 4, Muskegon Heights, Michigan. That's what it's called.
Kind of interesting to see that there isn't like no pattern. Like all kinds of states. We see the Democratic states, we see Republican states. So there isn't really like a pattern in
the pattern is just lack of resources.
Yeah, the lack of resources. That's the pattern. Yeah.
Simply.
Irritate the locals, call it Muskegon Heights, Michigan, or just Muskegon, Michigan. Muskegon Heights is part of the Muskegon, Michigan metro area. And it's its own little city with about 10,000 residents. Muskegon Heights has a reputation for being rough around the edges, to say the least. With crime rates that could scare off even the boldest adventurers, it's the perfect place to test out how fast you can run when you hear suspicious footsteps behind you. There are whole blocks there where there's like one home, and the rest are condemned or burnt out or something like that. And they've got a horribly high crime rate.
It looks beautiful, though.
A big part of the problem is economic distress.
It looks empty. That's what it looks. And
I guess I don't like to see overdevelopment.
This is what you see here. It seems like a high school playground because you see like a
this
soccer
high
field.
School?
I would think so because it's a soccer field. There's basketball court. So I don't know.
It's probably their biggest problem. The city's been hit hard by poverty, unemployment, and a general lack of opportunity, making it feel like everyone's competing for the last slice of pizza at a party where there was never enough to begin with. When people start struggling to make ends meet, tensions can escalate quickly like we've learned in other cities, leading to more crime. It's the classic fight or flight mentality. Except in Muskegon Heights, it seems like flight has never been an option and fighting became the local pastime. What's going on in this town is so common among the Rust Belt states. As the country shipped off jobs overseas and then automation took over other jobs, fewer and fewer people in these cities have jobs, and that is not good. There was an economist, I forget his name.
Well, yeah, it seems like it's those old school jobs, as he said, Rust Belt states, those kind of jobs go away, and those people that used to do those jobs, they have no other skills, and that's what happens.
But he said you could solve most of the United States or any country's problems by making sure everyone has a decent job. Now, obviously, even if everyone did have a decent job available, not everyone's going to take it. You're always going to have that 2 or 3%, which no matter what you offer them, they're still going to do some stupid stuff. That's every society, every century. That's just how it goes. You're dealing with humans. Humans are imperfect. But if there are decent jobs around, the normal person who's actually looking to get a job and not just, try and survive by any means necessary, they'll take that job. Muskegon Heights also has issues with underfunded public services. Imagine trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing and no idea.
It looks like a very dead city.
Where the picture of the box went. The violent crime rate here is more persistent than a telemarketer during dinner back in the 1980s. Remember them? They always called it dinner. Want to sign up for long distance services?
It looks like they started building something and then they stopped.
crime rate of 24.8 per every 1,000 residents. If you haven't picked up on that and I haven't explained it well enough, that means 24.8 people out of 1,000 will be violently assaulted.
Back in Arkansas.
Number 3, Osceola, Arkansas. If you're planning a trip to Osceola for its ties to blues music, be prepared to sing a sad tune for yourself if you become one of its crime statistics. With a violent crime rate that could headline its own festival, this place is more likely to hit a high note in danger than fun. And let's just say the risk is a...
You know, living in a big city, you thinking you want to go move to a small town for, you know, a slower life, a slower pace of life. But I don't know, things seem to move fast in a slow town. Small
Well,
town.
obviously you don't want to move to towns like this. I'm sure there's nice small towns.
Yeah, but I wonder what's the difference in the job opportunities there as opposed to this small town. Because I understand how traditional jobs, maybe traditional jobs are different
Right.
in those towns.
I would think the jobs in those towns, the nice small towns, they haven't left the towns, whereas these towns, the jobs have left. Like, you know, if there's a factory, like, you know, somewhere, and it's still there, you know, the jobs are still available. If the factory here, for example, I'm not saying there was a factory here, but if there was one and they moved the jobs to China, well, that's what they're supposed to do now. That was like the only factory. Because there's a lot of towns built around the factory, because the factory been there for hundreds of years, so people just kind of settle in there, and, you know, if that factory, you know, bankrupts or whatever happens.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, but that's just life. I mean, what can you do about that? You know.
But worth the heritage. How'd they get here? Well, they're out in the middle of nowhere by themselves on the Mississippi River. The first question you have to ask yourself is, why would a small town of about 6,000 people have such a disproportionate violent crime rate? It's almost like Osceola is trying to win a contest or something. Economic struggles have been a real kicker here. And like I said, it's out in the middle of nowhere. And sometimes when you're in that whole isolation thing, it wears on people and they start feeling like they're in their own bubble. And you know everyone in town, every grudge gets blown up, got families feuding with each other. Sure, there are some very small towns around there, but they're glorified truck stops at best. It's like the Mississippi River on one side and farmland as far as the eye can see everywhere else. The poverty here and lack of jobs is really what's driving most of their problems. Osceola has a violent crime rate of 25.9 for every 1,000 residents.
Sephora is everywhere you are. So when you need a gift,
Florida City, Florida. Oh, Florida made it.
Number 2, Florida City, Florida. Florida City is like the last stretch of civilization before you hit the Everglades, then eventually the Florida Keys, south of Miami.
Where's Florida?
Like
South?
past Homestead.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think being so close to Florida Keys, this would make the place like a vacation paradise. But alas, it's more like a CSI Miami
I
meets a
thought
horror
Florida City was more like upstate Florida.
movie type situation. Gas up your car, roll through, and head straight to the Everglades because stopping here might make you the star of a CSI episode, like if they did a real life. The first 48. I don't know, found his car in Florida City, found his shoes in the Glades, something like that, you know? Florida City is a city in Miami-Dade County, Florida. It's the southernmost municipality in South Florida. Those are the facts. The other fact is it's very dangerous, and I'm not talking about alligators. So how'd they get here? The city's location at the southern tip of Florida puts it at a crossroads for a lot of different activities, legal and otherwise. It's a prime location for anyone looking to make a quick getaway to the Keys or the Everglades, which probably...
I think it would be the heavy drug industry there, you know, because smuggling, you know, being so south. I think that's what's probably going on there.
Doesn't help things. Combine that with socioeconomic challenges like poverty and limited access to education, and you've got a perfect recipe for a crime rate that's anything but sunny. Florida City Police Department probably needs a vacation. They're working overtime. High unemployment and a transient population make it hard to foster a tight-knit community where everyone knows everyone else's business. Sometimes it's nice to have things that way. Instead, they have a revolving door of chaos. Add in some tropical heat and humidity, and tempers flare faster than the afternoon thunderstorms. The violent crime rate in Florida City is 26.2 incidents per every 1,000 residents.
He didn't really say anything about this.
All right.
I don't know what he was talking
If
about
you
the
haven't
whole time.
subscribed, please do so. It's fun.
Illinois, South Village.
And number 1, Sauk Village, Illinois. Sauk Village is proof that small doesn't mean safe. The violent crime rate here is high enough to warrant its own warning label. If you want to visit this place, I would suggest bulletproof vest, bodyguard, and staying clear, well, pretty much of everywhere. Just recently, the city clerk threatened in chambers during a public hearing, threatened to hit the mayor upside the head with a gavel. Her exact words were, "I'm going to knock you upside your head." Well, it's a great video.
Yeah.
So how'd they get here? I mean, besides the whole mayor and clerk thing, one big factor here is likely the lack of resources. With limited public funding to social services and, the police department, Sauk Village struggles to keep things under control.
This guy can talk though. Oh my god.
It's the people who say the same thing, saying
Oh
nothing.
my god. He's saying nothing, but he's talking.
And trying to plug a leaky dam with a handful of cotton balls. It's not gonna work. It's like every time one problem gets patched up, 3 more spring out. On top of that, like so many other cities and towns in this part of the country, they've been struggling economically. They just don't have the jobs. So of course they're gonna have crime. And there's this kind of feedback loop going on.
I think I wouldn't mind living in a small town, but I would want to make sure.
No, you gotta do your research.
There's a lot of
You
opportunities.
can't just pick any small town, because this well clearly shows that. Nope.
As crime rises, so does the stigma attached to the area, which means fewer new businesses, fewer job opportunities, and surprise, more crime. It's a bit like an episode from a sitcom where everything keeps going wrong no matter what. Except here, the laugh track is missing and the stakes are much higher. It probably doesn't help that it's part of the Chicago metro area. It's on the south side. It's not like those really bad neighborhoods on south side Chicago, but it's not great. They're kind of close to Gary, Indiana too, which ain't no peach. Sauk Village, Illinois' violent crime rate is 41 for...
That's significantly higher than that.
That's a big jump.
Wow, yeah, that's a big jump. Interesting. The concept of the video was interesting, but not the execution. He talked way too much about nothing. It could have been like a 5-6 minute video, straight with the facts. I felt like I wanted to get to the violent crime number, the violent crime number.
But what would you have wanted him to say?
As
Let's
I
get
said,
feedback.
what we did with the infographics videos, where they do just the stats, boom, 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 stats, like not just violent crime rate.
Yeah.
The population, the violent crime rate, okay, then what kind of breakdown
What kind
the
of crime?
Yeah, breakdown the rapes,
kind of
the murders, the
So that
assaults,
information is all together.
grand theft. Yeah, it's all available on the same where he took this number from. So just put those instead of talking. I don't know what he was saying. Same thing.
And maybe say what's the biggest company that's operating there or have presence
Yeah,
there.
if there was a presence of the company, a little more history in the town. Because now he said the same thing for every town. Oh yeah, company left, or underfunded. Like, come on, but because the title was very interesting.
Yes,
but the execution,
and it was click.
Yeah, I didn't like the execution.
But I think you were looking for cities and towns.
That's too. I guess I misinterpreted it. But towns is still interesting. I just wish it was executed better.
Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. I know it sounds a little scary. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. There's always share as much kindness as possible.